happy Friday evening. I hope everybody's having good end of the work week, and hopefully everybody will have a great start of their weekend, already started their weekend. Today's my favorite topic, of course, is Russia. What is new in the world of Russia? Well, Navalny is slated to come back on the 17th back to Russia. He already has an electronic ticket and scheduled a flight. However, there's multiple caveats with that. First of all, there's 2 warrants out for his arrest at present in Moscow, and given the fact that he was on probation prior to his departure for Germany, even though it was a necessary departure due to his poisoning, at the same time he still has to address that. So it's highly likely that upon entering the airport and entering Russian zone, when he lands, he'd probably be arrested, and he would probably be spending his time awaiting hearing pertaining to the scenarios that occurred. Of course, it is politically motivated and wanted. In another end, you see a lot of videos now, a lot of discussions that Navalny is a martyr. He believes in his ideology. That is why he's returning to Russia. I don't believe this is one of the reasons he is returning to Russia. I think one of the main reasons that he's returning to Russia is because the only way he makes money is being in Russia. As I mentioned in my previous videos, the dissident spot in the West already taken that can actually speak out from the West against the Russian regime and the Kremlin. And also there's a lot of people, including myself, whose roots are in Eastern Europe, but at the same time they do not like what is happening in Russia at present time, and the changes that are happening, how Russia has become more of a dictatorship. But nevertheless, part of a problem with that, and this is what I've been saying before too, people are conditioned to that type of scenario since 1917 revolution. Even though the Soviet Union collapsed, the mentality has not changed. It actually gotten worse, because the difference is when the Soviet Union collapsed, a lot of people remembered, because their parents and everything, they went through horrible repression. They went through World War II, they went through Stalin regime, and a lot of murders and everything like that. My generation and does not remember that living in Russia. They actually glorify Stalin. Last year was one of the all-time high ratings for supporting and believing in Stalin. And this is my generation and one generation younger that is just getting the age of majority now in Russia as well. So I think the thing is because they never lived through it. For them, it's such a distant past that they don't even see it, and this is why Putins Support and those ranks are growing. That is why Putin has such stronghold, and his party has even certain divisions within schools. It's like military/patriotic training starting since grade 1 in Russian secondary schools and junior schools. But nevertheless, back to the Navalny story. So what will happen? Highly likely when he arrives on 17th, as I said, he would be arrested. The West is going to post everywhere that he's a martyr. He'll be political prisoner sitting in jail and waiting for hearing, and possibly will actually have a full term actually spent in jail instead of probation that he had before. And that is stemming from Ivershey scenarios that happened quite a while back, even though a lot of people say it's politically motivated, because Ivershey did not actually have complaints themselves pertaining to what happened, but this is history anyways. But overall, I think Navalny's funds will raise more money. Navalny Live will have even more viewership on YouTube. It will continue to grow every time you hear political prisoner. It also gives US and the EU more ways of giving sanctions to Russia in regards to all that, and violation of human rights groups will get involved. This is going to be a lot of publicity for Navalny. This is what he's seeking. He always thought that. He's always started out as a blogger. He lost his lawyer's license a long time ago in Moscow, and even then, before then, it's highly questionable what he ever did professionally outside of being a political activist, and the West only needs him as long as he's good in Russia. However, I pointed out many times, he could turn on the West as well. For example, I'll give you very interesting scenarios that just happened. So Cato Institute, Andrei Larionov was removed from the institute. Originally, he spoke out against the Kremlin and the Russian regime, and this is how he ended up being Cato Senior Fellows. Cato Institute advocates for liberty and as far as, freedom and a lot of free markets, etc. So it is a libertarian think tank if you're going to classify it as anything else. However, he's been removed. The reason for his removal is the fact that he spoke out against American democracy in a way. And he actually questioned American democracy and the process in general. So this is just a recent prime example of what I've been always saying. All these opposition individuals, and a lot of them, they oppose Kremlin, they oppose Putin, they oppose everything else, yet once they're given a spot in the West, they start opposing the West as well, and their comments suddenly become in line was the same what they were trying to oppose in Russia in the first place, or it seems they were. I gave an example prior in one of my videos that was happening in Guyana in the past, that was happening with Carson Forbes when America was backing him, and once he became a leader, he did horrid things where people actually had to leave Guyana. A lot of them settled in Canada, and is especially impacted by Portuguese population in Guyana at the time. But nevertheless, I have an interesting question, and I would love everybody's opinions after they watch my video. What is the difference between Navalny supporters and Trump supporters? They seem to be aligned within the same parallels. Navalny wants to change Russian regime. Trump supporters want to change America, and they believe that's why they want Donald Trump, who's not a politician. In their way, he's different, but yet at the same time, Trump is authoritarian, and before he got elected, before his whole history, he was one of the biggest donors to the Clinton Foundation. And look at him now. And I'm not a Trump supporter, clearly. And nevertheless, like his politics and everything else, look at the draconian scenarios he did in America. Even though a lot of people can say under him the economy was great, but everything else is very questionable anyways. So what is the difference between Navalny and him? Navalny wants to change a regime, but if you give him actual power within the government, the same West that was backing him, how do you know he's not going to turn on the West or even before? Because I'm sure he'll never be elected as a president of Russia. I can guarantee you. Even other opposition leaders who oppose everybody and oppose Putin very strongly do not support Navalny as a leader. They support his movement, but they'll never vote for him as a president. There could be Mishustin, there could be a lot of other successors for Putin if they ever going to venture in that topic. I don't think it will happen anytime soon, but this is a scenario. And this is how it's going to happen. So this is why I asked the question. When Navalny wants a protest, or he does his provocations when he travels to different cities and does what he does, what is the difference between him and Trump supporters? He's trampling into private properties as well with his drone. He enters as far as going looking at doctors' houses. I'm not talking about politicians claiming where did they get the funds. What is the difference of Lyubov Sobol, who was actually detained a short time ago when she tried to enter that FSB's individual's apartment and entered it under false pretense, not like other people like CNN and other Western journalists where they camped out outside that individual's door for a while. They stayed outside the building looking for him to ask questions, even knocked on the door, but they never actually entered private property. So what is the difference that Trump supporters stormed the Capitol? What is the difference between Navalny's supporters and his crew doing it, even though it's on a smaller scale? But this is the question I ask you. Russia needs change. Yes, right now Russia is not a friend to US and hasn't been probably since 1917, and even before, it wasn't open animosity, but nevertheless. But this is the question I keep asking. When the Western media and people support and say somebody's martyr for democracy, please take a hard look, because a lot of people betray. And the West that actually supports people and believes that Russia will have change, and Ukraine and a lot of other people, are the same people that once given a lot of power, they become corrupt and they only care about their own pockets. They don't care what the West does. They don't care what anybody does. So please click like, please subscribe to my channel. Would love to hear everybody's opinions, of course. Comments, what does everybody think? Always up for constructive discussion. You can read my articles under Kristina Kitova at communalnews.com. You can also tune in every Wednesday after 10 p.m. Eastern Time on XKey West 104.9, and I'm contributing correspondent for the radio station pertaining to the news and politics. Thanks again for watching, and have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you again, everybody.